Hello Internet, I'm Richie and welcome to Sounds of Stadia SideQuest, a show where we take a step off the critical path and explore what the video game world has to offer. On this week's show, we'll be talking about what games are coming next for Stadia, and of course, I'm joined by the host of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, Mr. Chris.
That's me.
Oh, hello Stadios.
Hello, Stadios.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm hungover and dehydrated, so...
And of course,
Serial spot.
the techie teacher himself, Mr. Tom.
Oh, you're talking to me? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, I mean, you went on last week's SideQuest, but that was entirely my fault.
Yeah.
So
it's nice to know that my thoughts and opinions on things are very much validated.
yeah.
After you left, Tom, he literally said to me, he was like, you know what, do you want to do that again? Just without Tom this time. I was like, I mean, Richie's not really fair on Tom, and Richie just went ahead with it like a communist dictator.
He's changing his tone now. Like, but in the podcast, it's like, oh, he forgot to record the audio. It's like, and this time it's like, no, apparently I'm a communist dictator.
Yeah.
That's a weird change of story there. Anyway,
Sorry.
Yeah, a bit of housekeeping. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notification for when we publish all of our stuff, such as the Sounds of Stadia podcast, which comes out every single Monday on youtube.com/Sounds of Stadia and podcast services, and our Thursday night live streams, and our first looks, such as Chris's first look at SpongeBob.
With bad audio, ironically enough.
Yeah, with bad audio, but that's the game, not Stadia and not Chris. It's just a badly coded mess. If you want to join this discussion even further, jump into our Discord server. The link is in the description below, and you can get this show as long as a handful of other things early for as little as 99 pence if you join us YouTube membership service.
Tell us more.
Okay, tell you more. You can get some emojis, you get a nice little Stadia controller next to your name when not during our live streams, and it helps the channel a lot. So
It really does.
And we really appreciate it. Thank you, folks.
we're talking about what games are coming next for Stadia, because we've just had Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil Village if you prefer, but that's now kind of come and gone. I feel like
We finished it.
Yeah, we literally have finished it. Like,
I actually did look at the achievements and thought, oh, could I do this? Because through our playthrough, Richie, we got quite a couple of unique achievements, like kill 3 people in a row with 1 bullet, which was just a happy circumstance that happened at a particular time. And I looked in and it's like complete the game on the hardest difficulty, and I was like, no, not for me. Not for me on my own.
Yeah.
But it's gone. It's done.
Yeah,
Finished, moved on.
Wow.
But as gamers, we're greedy. We always want the next big, new, exciting thing. What do you think it is?
Well,
The well game.
Downwell a game.
Downwell is a game. It's an indie game.
Literally
Yeah,
falling.
you constantly fall. It's a black and white game.
Yeah, I'd like
Indie.
to actually see that Stadia, but that's probably not what we're talking about. Thinking big, like tentpole, what is next titles? Like we said, Resident Evil was a huge get for Stadia. Cost them 10 million apparently to port it over, but that was awesome. 7 was awesome. Jedi Fallen Order was awesome. But yeah, you're right, Richie. What is next? And Tom, you mentioned the podcast this week, but Ark Survival Evolved coming early 2021. Now, I know I personally use Google Calendars. I'd imagine everyone over at the Stadia team do as well. It's nearly June, guys. And last time I looked at the calendar, June was not early 2021. So you've got a week.
Let's actually try to put a label on this, because I know early 2021 to me is sort of like, it's subjective, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Like it's completely down to your own interpretation. So Rishi, what would you, if somebody said to you early 2021, when would you put the cutoff point?
For me, I would say probably the first third of the year. But I could understand if people went the first half of the year.
Right. Okay. Chris, how about yourself?
I'm kind of similar. Break it up to early, mid, late.
Yeah.
So into thirds. Okay. So you would have said by the end of April, so to speak, perhaps. Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree the first quarter to the first third right there. So I feel like Ark is sort of like, it's becoming the new myth for Stadia, where it's sort of like it's supposed to be here. Now it is now vaporware. It's sort of like there's going to be a point where people suddenly lose interest in the fact that it's even coming, or just being like, well, it's about damn time that it's actually here.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
I was excited when it was announced, but was it announced at the Connect? Was it that long ago? Like it was
I feel like it was a long time ago. It was the same time that we found out about Jedi Fallen Order, I believe. So yeah, that would have been the Connect.
And I remember us all being like, "Oh, Ark, that's awesome, that's super good." And then it was like coming to Pro, that's amazing. And then the reality is, we've had over half a year has passed.
We had a game that was announced at the same Connect come out for purchase, and now go Pro.
A big game as well.
A big game.
I've just wavered on it now. I'm like, I'm not really that inclined to say I'm excited. I'm sure I will be come the hype cycle starts again. But yeah, you're right, Tom. At the moment, I'm just kind of like, okay.
It was, I've just jumped over at StadiaSource.com and checked, and the article they published was October the 7th. It was actually 7 months ago.
Okay.
This is for a game that already exists.
And it's quite a dated game at this point as well.
Yeah.
It's not like it's the newest kid on the block kind of thing, really. I don't know.
Now we're thinking about it in that duration. Is it the only announced game we know about that's not came out now? Because like you said with Jedi Fallen Order, everything else that we've seen showcased at events
previous owner of that title was Destroy All Humans.
And before that was Doom.
Mafia is still...
That's a good shout, Mafia. Actually.
I keep tweeting at, and they keep ignoring me. 2K and the Mafia team. September 25th, 2020, that came out on other platforms. I actually know the date in my head now because it's been that many times I've tweeted at them to check. Actually, back to our FIFA segment we used to do, Richie. Mafia Definitive Edition, 236 days since it came out on other platforms.
Wow.
And they stay silent. Wow. So talk about big games that are still missing in action, I guess.
Do you think we'll go over a year with Mafia?
It's possible.
Without Mafia, I should say.
I mean, I'd like to say, no, surely not. Like, why announce it if it's going to be that far out?
Ooh. What do you think, folks? Let us know in the comments. Will we surpass the year mark of Mafia being released on other platforms before it actually comes out to Stadia? Despite being announced.
What else is there, I guess? What have we've said a few times in the podcast, we've missed Mass Effect Legendary. That was a big missed opportunity, I think.
I'm gutted about that one. I sat on that because I genuinely thought we might get some news, being as we're still waiting for 2 EA games.
Yeah, I did as well. I was quite open about it in the podcast, that I was hoping, I hadn't pre-ordered it for quite a while in the hopes that it would come to Stadia.
Yeah.
And then when it never did, I bought it on PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly the same.
As I've said, they've basically just lost the sale of that game for me. And probably about 3 months, like a couple of months of my time as well.
Yeah, because that's the truth, isn't it? We said the great thing with the Legendary Edition is it's 3 games in one.
Yeah.
So my time is now going to be spent with my PS5, playing 3 great, like arguably amazing titles, which I've never played before. However, then if something drops on Stadia this week, next week, the week after, I'm going to look at it and go, anyway, I'm playing this right now.
Yeah. So, to be fair, we always talk about the cost interjection, like involvement for purchasing games and like what we actually spend on games, but nobody really talks about the time we invest in it.
Yeah.
So it is a big chunk of time to get the Legendary Edition, that is 3 games, and Mass Effect games, if you want to 100% them, they are detailed games.
Yeah, I won't be 100% in them.
I can tell you now, you don't want to be taking the Mako to every single planet and farming all the resources. That takes. It's not good.
If I just got one Mass Effect game, I might consider it. If the game, it's too early for my playthrough at the moment to really say how much it's going to get its hooks into me. But since I've got 3 of them, once I finish one, my interest will be very much moving on to number 2 to continue the story. Which then they'd have to go back to 1 after completing 3 to start working towards the platinum. I'm just not going to do that.
It's that mindshare cycle, and for me, again, like we all said, Stadia would have been our preference to play this game.
Yeah.
But we didn't get it. It didn't come, so we bought it elsewhere. And we always talk about the roadmap of games, and gamers want to know what's the next thing around the corner. And in my mind's eye, I know I'm playing Ratchet and Clank next month. So guess what I'm doing after I play Mass Effect? Ratchet and Clank. Guess what that's on? My PlayStation 5. Guess why? Because now Resident Evil's done. I don't know what else I'm playing on Stadia for the rest of the year until one of the titles which we do know is confirmed that we'll get to.
I was going to say, yeah, so by the time this episode comes out to the general public, and remember, folks, you could have had this earlier by becoming a member of the Sounds of Steady YouTube channel from as little as 99 pence. We will have seen the release of Biomutant as well, which is due to drop on May 25th. But as I say, at the time of this episode actually comes out officially, that's already been and gone.
At the time of recording, but as far as we know, Biomutant isn't coming. Well, I think the devs confirm on Twitter that it's not coming, but they'll do it in the future.
It was in a frequently asked questions on like the website where someone said, is it coming to Switch and Stadia? And they said, not at the moment, we're focusing on making this the best version of the game we can do. Yeah. So it's not a no, but again, it's like this discussion should have happened months ago with THQ about it coming to the platform.
It might have, the discussion might have happened with Google, and they might have just went, no, we've made our decision when instead of putting it on this platform, we're going to focus on these ones first.
But then everyone's going to be playing it on their other consoles. And then again, the argument is, I'll spend my money on the games I want to play, and if you're not giving me the option to buy it here, I'll go elsewhere. And I'm obviously dead sold on Stadia. If I'm just kind of like a guy who's just got into the ecosystem and trying it out, but then something pulls me back the other way, back to my old ecosystem, and I kind of think, well, actually, you know what? The box under my TV works. I'll play Biomutant, then I'll play Ratchet and Clank, then I'll play Mass Effect, and then before you know it, Call of Duty's announced, and then I'm back over there, and you've lost your opportunity to get me foot in the door on Stadia more. Like, you need to solidify your player base by giving us big tentpole titles, which is what we're talking about, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. It's always needing that next thing. You need that next thing. Like Stadia, I think they've done a couple of times where they've had done something awesome, like Cyberpunk was massive for Stadia because it didn't work on the PlayStation 4. Like,
still doesn't.
And so that was such a win for Stadia, but then it feels like it didn't follow up. And I think they're at risk of doing the same thing again with Resident Evil. Where, here's a cool title. It works really well on Stadia, and then now we're out the other side of it. It's like, next. You need to keep that going.
Yeah. Well, we said before, without the lack of Stadia Games Entertainment exclusives, the other competition, they keep their yearly roadmap filled up with exclusives that then are interstitially filled with third-party games. Yeah. Stadia just has third-party games at this point, so Nintendo's obviously bumped theirs up with all the Mario and Pokemon games. They can guarantee bank on them for like bookending the year. Zelda, Sprinkle, Metro and stuff in there. PlayStation has all their other massive IP. Xbox has their wealth of studios, now including Bethesda. And the reality is, Stadia has to plug these gaps in some way, shape, or form with second-party deals, with AAA titles that are on multi-platform. It needs to get them. Otherwise, we have these voids of emptiness that gamers they get a bit itchy. They twiddle their thumbs. We always want something new. Yeah,
the thing is, Nintendo understand the hype cycle very well. It's why they created the Nintendo Direct, which pretty much everyone else has then copied. Mm-hmm. It's like, because look, it's one of them. Just like, it's just gone, okay, here's what's coming next. Yeah, and they do that a couple of times a year.
Yep.
Fair enough.
What else have we got? We've missed Mass Effect. We may or may not have missed Biomutant, even though we pretty much...
I'm going to say that's a miss because it was literally confirmed on their website.
Probably on a delay.
That it's not coming now. That's, for me, if it's not coming at day and date, it's a miss.
Yeah.
So what is confirmed then?
Far Cry 6.
Ubisoft classics. Well, not classics, but...
We get more Ubisoft
future
games.
Classics.
We love Ubisoft games out over here at Sounds of Stadia, but we need more than just Ubisoft.
Yeah, we do.
So, we're still waiting on a Far Cry was delayed, obviously. We should be playing it now from February.
Yes.
My guess, with there being a Ubisoft Forward at E3, they're going to cement the date. It wouldn't surprise me if the date's not far out from the E3 announcement. I very much think it's going to be June, whatever the date is for E3, middle of the month or something. I wouldn't be surprised if it's out by like July or August. It's like a very quick turnaround time now.
Fair shout.
And again, it's coming to Stadia. I cannot wait. I will play it there. So that's another one. Riders Republic, you said. That's going to be, I think, hit or miss depending on if you're into that type of game. I don't think it's AAA as Ubisoft probably want it to be. There's definitely an audience. I'm not that audience, but I'm happy to see it come because, again, it's a big story out there. But outside of Ubi, we ain't getting Prince of Persia still. That wasn't confirmed. We don't even know if
I don't know why you would want it looking at the graphics, but
yeah, we don't need that.
I put it back in the oven, wasn't it? Because that should have been out in March. So
that's fair. Yeah.
So
if it didn't look like a PS3.
March 2005.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of the scope of the actual year, then what else is there?
I suppose it goes without saying that the EA Sports titles are going to roll out eventually. The next element of those, the 2022 iteration. Whether we see FIFA 22 or not, I don't know, because from the numbers that I've seen on Stadia at the moment, I think we've had around about a peak of I think it's around I want to say around the 5,000 number of players, which it is. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen there.
Again, I think stuff like that is hammered by the lack of crossplay, and it's almost a self-defeating situation at the moment because there isn't enough multiplayer gamers on Stadia. It means multiplayer games don't get more people coming in.
Yeah.
So then it never corrects itself. It's only something. Yeah, it's a vicious cycle.
Catch 22.
Yeah, it's the only thing that I think can sort that out is time. Just need to keep going, keep bringing these games to the platform, and crossplay. Crossplay will resolve that problem massively. Also, FIFA should start out their online offering.
To be fair, again, like I fully appreciate what you're saying there, but I suppose the other thing that hamstrings the FIFA numbers is the fact that FIFA 21 came out late into the season.
Yeah, almost. That's a good point.
If 22 came out day and date, then there's an argument that could be made.
Yeah, I almost actually forgot about that. I remember saying actually, it's like EA should not look at the FIFA numbers on Stadia as the reality, because when you bring out a game, how many months was it late, Chris? Like 6 months or something?
It was March, so it was like the season, the domestic season in the UK and most of Europe finishes in May.
Yeah,
so
we definitely passed the halfway point of the season, so it's like the game's half done by the time it came out.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's like... So yeah, I really hope EA are smart enough to not just look at them numbers and go, well, it didn't do well in Stadia. It's like, well, it didn't do well in Stadia because you didn't bring it out at the right time.
Yeah, completely right. And that can be said for most titles we've got, in all honesty. Like Jedi Fallen Order was over a year later, and amongst all the other things. So there's not actually... Again, it's not been around long enough to get that many games. Remember, we spoke last week about, or the week before, about like COVID impact and stuff. And the reality is, there's not been that many massive third-party AAA titles outside of the Ubisoft thing, because Ubisoft seem to be the only ones unimpacted. But on
everything's been delayed.
Yeah, exactly. The other EA one, I'd guess, we've said fingers crossed, so many fingers and toes crossed for Battlefield 6.
Yeah,
like that for me will be like the big game on Stadia this year. That will be probably the biggest outside of Resident Evil Village. That will be the big one. And if that doesn't come, I don't think there's that much left this year.
No,
which is crap, because it's a long way till Christmas, folks. And then
it'd be interesting to revisit this topic after E3 and Summer Games Fest and see, because we'll have a lot more information then about what's coming up. But the problem is, Stadia's not confirmed to be at either of them.
Yeah, we theorized in the podcast, didn't we? Saying all the publishers and developers Stadia has relationships with are at E3 and Summer Games Fest. They've announced that their presence will be there. So they are going to bring something. Whether we get logo gate and it's not confirmed for Stadia, we can safely assume it should be coming. But yeah, I think this year all the Warner Brothers properties got pushed back to another year. So Hogwarts Legacy, Gotham Knights are like 2022 and beyond. FIFA, sports games, like we don't know. We probably guarantee, I think we're all under the assumption Call of Duty, Fortnite ain't coming.
Yeah, I don't expect that.
Legends is still a potential.
Apex, I mean, we've still got Siege at some point. But again, it's not really a new game, so I don't know how excited to be about stuff like that.
I'm trying to think outside of Ubisoft as well, because I think most Ubisoft games is a safe bet coming to Stadia.
Yes.
But it's...
I think Square Enix has spent for the time being. They've got Avengers, they've got Outriders, they're both out.
I still want to see Final Fantasy 14 hit the platform just because they've got a new expansion coming out in November. So that would be good considering like how Elder Scrolls Online has done, and with for any MMO fans out there who haven't tried Final Fantasy 14, you can play the game completely for free up to level 60, and it includes the first expansion for free. Like, you do not have to pay, you do not have to buy. So that sort of, again, is the kind of thing that I think would work really well on Stadia. And Square Enix are showing support to the platform. Plus, I think it's about time we had another Final Fantasy, albeit it's slightly different, but...
We're getting Final Fantasy VII Remake integrated soon.
Not on Stadia, we're not.
No, not on Stadia, but that's a PlayStation exclusive, so
yes.
That's like more of a side note, like...
So I think Square Enix is spent for now. Obviously, we're getting
focusing on Outriders.
We know Life is Strange is coming. We are getting that as 100% confirmed, which is great. We're getting
Humankind.
the OG Humankind. Yeah. The big kind of elephant in the room, I guess we should probably address, is Bethesda and what their relationship looks like with Stadia now, because we've got like Bethesda and Microsoft are at E3. They will be announcing. The big rumor this past week was like Starfield.
Yeah, that's very true.
And the reality is now Doom's out. Will we be seeing a Rage 3, a new Fallout title, a thingy, and will it even come to Stadia? Because that's a big pillar of the industry that Stadia potentially could just be cut off from by the Microsoft acquisition. And we mentioned it in previous shows, but the stark reality is that's a big roster of games that is like potentially just not an option anymore, which needs to be filled. And like we said, it's a long road to Christmas. And at the moment, looking at this list, guys, I'm thinking Far Cry 6 and fingers crossed for Battlefield 6. And it's May.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's loads of games we could speculate on, like things like Grand Theft Auto 5. There's been speculation that may come to Stadia with when the next generation versions come out. But that's just speculation. We don't have anything. Again, it's like, give us something to be excited for. What is coming?
There's a real news drought out there for games again at the moment. Going back to the Bethesda point very quickly, I can really see a world where Bethesda and Microsoft, because of the nature of Game Pass and cloud, I can see there being genuinely a world where the games like Starfield does come out on PlayStation 5 and on PC, but not on Stadia. I can see that happening, unfortunately. Yeah. Because I just don't think that they have the number base again to coax them in, especially now that the Bethesda are owned by Microsoft. Yeah. Like there just isn't that pull there.
No, why would you develop something that's a direct competitor to xCloud?
Yeah.
It's not like with PlayStation where there's a massive legacy base of like, well, everyone's played all the Fallout games for years on PlayStation. You can't just take that away from them. Whereas with Stadia, it's like you never even had a Fallout game, so unlucky. It's our company, we bought it. Sorry. Yeah. Get it on xCloud with Game Pass for $9.99 a month, though. Yeah. Stream it to all the devices. Cha-ching, and it's... Yeah, so moves need to be made. But I don't know, guys. There's nothing else I'm looking at I can really think of outside of a couple of indie games that...
I'd be a bit more optimistic if they announced that they were going to be at E3 in a significant way. It's like, all right, I'm happy to have this drought at the moment because I know it's going to be ended soon. Which is like, it's like with things like if you're a PlayStation game, if you're Sony, if you're an Xbox game, if you're a Switch game, it's like you're expecting big announcements over the next month or two because of things like E3, Summer Games Fest, and things like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the truth is, we could see a lot come this summer. But I'm trying to think of like any big studios that aren't really they're either owned by Sony or Microsoft, or the third party ones. We know about the ones that are coming already.
It's a worrying trend actually in games at the moment that Sony and Microsoft seem to be buying up everyone who can be bought up, apart from Tencent and what do you call them? THQ Nordic as well. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking on Google at the list, like of all the games for the year, just to quickly run down. So you got Ari Village, Far Cry 6, Deathloop, PlayStation exclusive, Returnal, PlayStation exclusive, Mass Effect, not coming to Stadia, Halo Infinite, Horizon Forbidden West, Back 4 Blood, is one that we could have potentially
Yeah.
got or be getting. Ratchet and Clank, PlayStation. Knockout City is an EA game that I'm seeing lots of hype for this last week. I think some press kits or something might have went out. Ghostwire Tokyo, PlayStation. Kenna Bridge of Spirits, PlayStation. God of War Ragnarok, PlayStation. The Lego games, that's one that the
Skywalker Saga. Yeah, I would love to see the Lego games, especially Skywalker Saga. But again,
yeah, who knows? It's WB. So the game, we have Mortal Kombat on Stadia. So if we got a Lego game, that would put me in high spirits that we could get the back catalogue of all of the other awesome titles they've brought out.
Yeah.
Other than that, Life is Strange, which we do know about. Humankind, which we do know, that's good. But it's quite a dry. Rainbow Six Quarantine, whatever that ends up being or looking like or rebranded as. Yeah. But other than that, folks, I think that's the games for 2021 as we currently know them. So
that is.
It was 2021 was always going to be a dry year though, just because the impacts of the pandemic. A lot of stuff that was getting to late stage development last year that was planned for this year maybe pushed into 2022. But I think I think next year might even be quite dry as well. I think we're going to probably see a couple of years where the impacts of the pandemic has had significant impact.
Yeah, and if they'd like to know more about that, Richie, they can go check out the previous SideQuest episode where we talk all about the impacts of the pandemic on Stadia. But my biggest kind of to put a bow on all this, I guess, is May. So on Stadia, on the platform we're all invested in, all of our viewers and listeners are vested in, what are you playing and buying to make profit and money for Stadia and to have hours and hours of entertainment? What are you buying on Stadia in June, July, August, September, October, November, December of 2021? As it stands, how much money are you spending on this platform that needs to grow? As of now, my wallet's not going anywhere. I'm giving it to Sony as it stands, and that's not through choice. That's through what's
available. We play where the games are.
Yeah, I could see myself buying a few indie titles, but outside of that, like the likes of Moonlighter, down the line Bloodstained when it comes out as well. But outside of that,
mate, the only things I'm
struggling.
The only things I've really got my eye on at the moment on Stadia are Humankind and Life is Strange.
Yeah, probably same. Again, Far Cry for me, Far Cry 6 definitely. And Battlefield 6 if it ends up being a thing, which I hope so much it was.
Yeah.
And then probably FIFA 22 if it's a thing. But again, we need to know if it's a thing.
Yes.
So Summer Games Fest, E3, do it Stadia, make your presence.
Stadia might be out for E3 in a lot of big ways, just through like third party stuff like, this get come to the PC, Xbox, Sony and Stadia. That might just be a common thing throughout E3. But we've got no real reason to expect that to be the case, to be honest.
I just think they must have a marketing team, right? What are they doing Monday to Friday? What is their day job consisting of if they're not making marketing tools? There's no adverts are thin on the ground. We don't see any physical presence in stores, no posters. There's just YouTube ads. So, what are you paying those folks for? Full-time jobs, I would guess, if they're not making content, whether it be preparing for a Connect or scripting a public announcement. Other than the bloke or woman who writes the blogs every week, there's got to be more staff over there doing stuff, right? Right?
Yeah.
You'd like to think so.
That's all I've got, Richie. I'd love to tell you about games,
that's all Chris has got, and that's all we have got time for. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notifications, become a YouTube member if you want to continue supporting the channel. Check out all the stores, jump in the Discord to continue the conversations. And with that, I've been Richie.
I've been starved of games.
I'm going to play Mass Effect.
Thank you very much for watching. Quest completed.